G'day, listeners. This episode is proudly brought to you by our sponsors, supshq.com.au. Use BWB15 at checkout to receive 15% off and direct shipping. G'day, listeners, guys, girls, everything in between, podcasters, streamers, YouTubers,
cats, dogs,
coaches,
birds,
cat, dogs, whatever you identify as anymore, whatever adjective is before your name, good for you. Welcome to another episode of your favorite weekly piss take podcast with some education. That is the I guess the adjectives that we use when we highlight the podcast.
Yeah,
Piss taking, banter, some education.
Yeah, it's like educational should not be in there.
Yeah, it's like when you read a supplement and like the most ingredients start from left to right, like the highest dose ingredient. Education for us is like the very last bottom ingredient in the micromilligram amounts. It's got tyrosine in it at like 0.005 micrograms.
Yeah, it's got taurine, I swear.
It's got HMB. It's going to help build muscle at 0.001 doses. Okay, cool.
So make sure you take 12 pills.
Yeah, so that's us with education. Anyway, welcome back to another episode. Don't even know what number it is, but it's a fucking episode. Going to be some shit talking, some banter, maybe something.
Imagine last week being 80. This would put us at 81.
72? Is that how it works?
I don't know. Mathematication.
I just count in 20 kilo plates.
Yeah, 20, 40.
Exactly. My numerals go up really well, but like increments of one, no chance.
We start at 60 and then we go to 100 because that's what real men do.
No, this micro progression bullshit. There's 2.5 crap. You can gain 10 kilos in a month if you do it 2.5 per week.
I don't mind. No, I don't mind that. I don't mind if it's 2.5 and no, I'll even accept 1.25 plates aside and above. It's when you go less than 1.25s, it pisses me off. Micro progressions can suck my left. Like no, like no, this half a kilo. No, like 5 clips on one side. No, like kill yourself. No, believe me,
0.25 grams. I'm going up this week.
That 750 grams on each side to equal 1.5 kilos is not going to make a difference compared to 2.5 kilos total. Trust me, it doesn't make a difference. Your body is not going to recognize that 1 kilo. And if you can't lift that 1 kilo, believe me, it's not your body that's doing it. It's your fucking head.
We actually have this research.
Powerlifting pisses me off.
Scrap anything we're going to talk about today. Let's talk about that. So we actually have a research is pretty clear in we did it in perception and cognition. The load requirement is related directly to the increment of progression for you to perceive or notice the change in amount. So if we were to talk about the amount of sound in a room where there's music playing, if you play at a concert, the volume you have to speak at for someone to hear you in a conversation is relative to the amount of volume being played in the background. The amount of weight you have to lift to be noticeably an increase in jump and perception of jump has to be relative to the amount of weight that is already on the bar. So if you were to go 500 kilo deadlift and you put on 0.5 grams, you're not going to notice that. That's doing nothing.
Exactly right. It's so frustrating. Like I remember way back when micro progressions were a thing. It's like, oh, suck my left. It's not a thing.
Give me 2.5. That's not a micro progression. That's an actual progression.
Yeah, like that's what the plates are built in that do that.
2.5 on a dumbbell. You go from 35 to 37.5 both hands. Boom, done. That's a fucking good jump.
Yeah, well, that's also 5 kilos in total. Like that's a genuine jump.
That's a genuine jump. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a proper progression. Like I take 1.25 either side, 2.5 in total. Yes, It's like when powerlifters go for records, and it's like they go up at like 500 grams or like a kilo. And I think they have to go up a minimum of a kilo from memory. It could be. I
can cop that kind
of. Nah, fuck that. Suck a dick. 2.5 kilos total at least. So 1.25s on each side. That's fine.
If you're beating the record, fucking beat the record. Don't match
beat the record. Yeah.
Plus zero.
No, beat the record by what the plates should be, not fucking a kilo.
Like when fucking Thor Bjornsson went and did the 500 kilo deadlift, he was like, he was going to do the 500 kilos because Eddie did it. And then he's like, actually, you know what? I'll do 505.
Yeah. Like beat it. If you're going to beat it, but even if you did 502.5, I'll take it.
Yep.
That's fine. But if you did 501.5, no. Just no. I don't care how big he is. No. Take a real fucking progression.
That's fair. That is fair. Yeah. Anyway, good sir. Well, we've got the education out of the way. We dropped some cognitive science in there. We dropped some perception in there. How are you, my friend?
I am good, my friend. I am good. I've had a pretty good few days, to be honest, which has been nice. And now I've been tagged in this story or this clip that I did a podcast on, um, talking about like a whole stack of training and shit like this. And naturally, someone talking about um, cardio and basically adaptations to cardio.
Mhm.
And literally, someone has just now commented any studies or data supporting this. It's called the law of accommodation. Like I don't know what you want me to like. He's just posted like any studies or data supporting this. It's like, yeah, go to PubMed. Like I don't take your pick. Like there's a lot of them.
It's funny to me when people make these arguments, right? Like they don't understand the burden of proof
Yeah,
lies on the person making the claim. But when it's a known claim, it's not my proof to defend the position when it's already established. Like when
yeah,
the theory and the principle is first principle founded, you
yeah,
can't go, well, where's your evidence to back it up? No, it is the evidence. We've
yeah,
established and agreed that that is the consensus.
yeah,
It's now your job to disprove it. If you go, well, is there evidence to back this up? And you say, well, it is a law, the
yeah,
law of adaptation, the law of
yeah,
accommodation, it is there. The law of thermodynamics, it is there. It's not my job to then say, oh, well, this is where you're wrong. Here's the evidence. No, it's agreed upon. We've
yeah,
established this.
yeah.
The
It's like
claim has
I'm
been
not.
made by about 100 different doctors and researchers.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not. It's like it's funny because I think the person who's tagged me in the post, like the host of the podcast, probably wants me to reply, and I'm just going to message and be like, I'm not replying to these because I cannot be fucked. Like I'll turn notifications off. I just
Bruh.
cannot be fucked. Like like it's
No,
take. Don't get me
hey,
wrong. I'm looking at it now. Like it has taken off. Like in terms of how many like views and stuff that it's got, and like all the data behind it. Like she posted it this morning. It's at like 15,000 views.
that's mad.
Like, yeah, like the other one I got was like 12,000 or 15,000. It's like 442 likes, 70 saves, and 43 shares so far.
Yeah, fuck.
Yeah, like it's been fucking going like wildfire, but it's just like that's the problem when this sort of shit happens. It's like I am not gonna comment on like every fucking
No,
thing.
fuck no.
Yeah, and then it's like it's funny. There's like two questions, right? So I don't know if you saw the clip, but it's talking about like literally cardio, doing cardio. If you keep doing the same cardio, your body gets more efficient because your
Yeah.
body's lazy and it's not the same
Mhm.
effects. Basics, right?
Mhm.
And then he's like, "What?" So someone's commenting, "What about physics?" Sure, repeated mitochondrial oxidative stress invokes mitochondrial adaptation, but thermodynamically speaking, the energy required to move a distance at a given weight and a movement path should be using the same energy, right? And I actually replied, like, I'm not sure about you, but I don't know how often you've done the same thing exactly the same twice. Don't know. Like, I could run the same 100-meter path, and I know that I'm still not going to do the same thing twice, exactly the same. So theoretically, maybe. Realistically, no. Right. And then the chicks replied to me saying, be nice. I'm like, that's me being nice. I had a laughing face after it.
Yeah. I
Like
put the
that's
laughing face.
I put the emoji on there, like that's me being nice. And then
I'm not that serious.
the same person. And one more question. How does the body, or more specifically, a mitochondria differentiate between, say, walking level to an incline? What? The mitochondria? Like what?
What?
Sure, different muscles are being activated, but the mitochondria is just going to produce ATP in respect to demand. Yeah, being on an incline requires more demand, hence more ATP, hence more energy, dickhead. Like,
What?
I don't want to comment because I'm such a dick, but I feel like this is just plain logic.
Like at
That's
that
why I
point, you're
don't
trying to
comment on these things.
overcomplicate some basics. Like you're really like I was
Yeah,
almost caught off there. Like, wait, am I missing something? No, that's
yeah.
wrong. You're
Like
the
I don't want to. Yeah, like oh fuck, man. Anyway, I was just like
this
reading
is
these
where this is
comments. I'm
where
like,
like word salads make people sound intelligent. Like if you didn't know and you heard that, you'd be like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. But
now I
then you
can see
look
why.
into it
Like,
and you're
yeah,
like,
I can see why people just when people get lucky sometimes and they just have something that hits.
yeah,
And it's like I can see why they don't reply, or like
yeah,
even the really like popular
yeah,
people. Like I can just see why they don't reply to comments. It's just like fuck,
yeah,
man.
yeah, legit.
Oh,
Like
and that's only like four questions. I can't imagine. That's my tolerance to it. Imagine like if I had that and I had like 100 fucking questions. Oh, fuck that. Oh Jesus.
no.
Literally that's killing me now. It's just should put like a clause at the bottom. Don't ask questions. read read a book. If you do have a genuine question, DM me. At
You've
least that
actually
way I can screen it. I can screen it. I can screen the question and be like, I don't have to accept the conversation. So it's like if you don't get a reply, it's because it was a question that I did not want to fucking answer because I could not be bothered.
Yeah, I set a criteria of success for your questions being asked, and it failed to pass.
Yeah.
Being logical and sensical and worth a reply.
Yeah, like it didn't pass step one.
You've overcomplicated a basic principle, tried to sound really complex and philosophical, and you've missed it.
Yeah. Just like, man, I don't know. It's like, don't get me wrong, I can understand asking for research, but when it's like a nuanced topic, it's like, have you even looked for research yet about it?
Yeah.
Like, don't ask if you haven't
Well,
looked.
what about this exact scenario in my situation that I went through? Are you going to give me an answer? No, I'm not. I'm
It's
not
like,
going to do that.
yes, you can be the experiment. Go.
Yeah,
Let me
you
know how
go
you
do
go.
it. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, let me know how you go.
Yeah,
Anyway.
people be dumb.
Yeah, anyway.
Like
I mean,
even nah, I'm not actually. I'm not gonna like. We'll just ramble on that, but it's just fucking dumb. It's not even worth it because
no,
this
like
guy.
it was a cool clip, and the person that the podcast host who's actually done the clips and stuff been really really good. Like it's very professional, very well done, and all
Yeah,
that sort of stuff. So it's really really cool. Like it's obviously great exposure, but it's just like, bruh, like I don't want to comment on all this shit. Like I cannot be fucked.
and the thing too, the people who are gonna have the most like those most complex questions are the people who are looking for the nuanced, most perfected diet or program to get a result instead of just starting and doing something. Or they'll have like some. Well, this answer is the most like I'm above you with this answer, but also I look like a bag of dicks.
Yeah, and it's also like the questions that you're asking, and it's like I can understand asking questions for like self learning and that sort of stuff. Like I get that. I can't understand when people ask questions um, as it doesn't relate to really like anything. So like
No, yeah.
you needing to know this is probably not going to help benefit you, or if you're a coach, your clients, probably
Mm-hmm.
in any sense of the word. And the same thing applies with, when people want to try and come across smart or do something smart, and you're just like,
Yeah,
maybe not.
yeah. Because you've put a bunch of words together, you think it's a question that you're going to sound smart with or try and impress someone or seem, I don't know, maybe stand out on a post. It's still just a bunch of random dribble put together that doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah, just like, bro, just shut up and
Just shut your mouth. You're coming off stupid.
just yeah, just do your shit and do what you got to
I
do, bro.
think I can
It's not
help with
hard.
the pan pan problem.
Yeah, literally. Anyway,
Well,
anyway.
besides being triggered by dumb comments, how are we?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're not dumb comments. They're just I feel like there's not much thought before the
I
comments.
mean,
But anyway,
yeah, dumb comment.
yeah, like we're talking about like mitochondria. Like, it really can like fucking really? Anyway.
Tell me about pyruvate.
Yeah, it's just like you don't need to know at a mitochondrial level what's going on, bro. Like, if you're a person that needs to know that, then and you don't know that, you should probably not be asking someone on Instagram.
Yeah, let me do the actual clinical research around it.
Yeah,
Not just
well, you should probably be like studying it, uni
yeah,
online, fucking
yeah.
mentoring something, not asking, an Instagram comment. Hey, what about this? It's like, man, I don't know. You're trying to sound smart because you're fucking wrong, but it's okay.
After listening to a five second clip that is taken out of the context of a 2 hour conversation.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's the
You
thing. It's
missed
like,
this entire context.
yeah, like the whole clip. Like I remember the clip. It's like I was talking about like cardio protocols, and I was talking about like Luke Lehman's cardio protocols, and shout him out and gave him credit, and then broke into why
Mhm.
we do it the way I do what I do with cardio for clients, and that's where that clip came from. And yeah, it's just like okay. Anyway,
Okay.
anyway, yeah, pretty much. But anyway, how is you, good sir?
Man, I'm good. I am good. Everything is moving along. Back is better. Got back into hacks and leg press last week, which is good. There was no pain, no residual pain. Just crazy how easy it is to lose strength when you take a week off from certain movements. Obviously, specificity and adaptation occurs, but taking that week off where you're just like you're not doing that same movement, came back and like just controlled tempo a little bit differently. Rep cadence stuff was still there, but just sort of held the bottom out of the hole a bit differently, so it wasn't as rushed, I guess, if you will. Not trying to use a spring reflex as much, and I just found well, A, still intensity through my quads, but B, just not anywhere near as much back fluctuation, which for me will be a benefit to longevity of being able to do it and progressing it long term without getting injured. So
Yep,
yeah,
fair.
we will hit 250 again next time with a much greater control of the shortened position of the muscle, right? Like we'll be able to be in a much better position at the bottom
without
and
breaking your shit.
without breaking my shit. So yeah, that's good. Yeah, business is good. It's flying. People are in very good positions. We've got a lot of the teams starting up their preps now, which is going to be pretty exciting. So I think we've got young Ewan started his, Brooklyn started hers, Roland's just come out of a cut, Jesse's just come out of a cut. Kylie looks unreal. Jasmine is just waiting till I say let's pull the trigger. So yeah, there's just a fucking team of athletes ready to go, which is awesome to see. And all looking phenomenal. Michael's like 8 weeks out. We got one final like dig phase. I'll put him into like 2 to 3 weeks of an aggressive push just to strip a little bit more back fat off. Like we sort of talked about it. And I was like, dude, right now you're competitively lean. The question is, do we want to be winner lean? Because I can keep you gradually titrating down at 20%. And it was moving, it was working. We would hit the 96 kilo mark for him with ease and reach his classic cutoff. So he's registered for first time as novice and his division. So again, it's going to be, by the time he gets there, 96 shredded, probably pull him down to 95 just to make sure, give him a few of space to load up. But yeah, I just said, look, we can cruise through, or we can dig in here and then have a sort of back end period to just sort of relax a bit more, brush off some stress and just chill out at the back end there a bit, see how you look, and then fill up when I need you to. And he's like, let's do it. I was ready for it. I'm like, okay, cool. So poor guy's just been like pulled down on food. I was like, all right,
you'll be right.
Let's go.
Suck it up.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, of his whole prep, the dude's been on like 35 calories per kilo. And I was like, 2 to 3, maybe 4 weeks tops at 25 calories per kilo, not a bad place to be in.
No, exactly. It's like it could be worse.
It could be a lot worse. So I was like,
actually in saying that, let's make it worse.
Yeah. So how do we make this worse? Let's go 20 calories per kilo. Let's give him reds so that I can piss off every fucking wannabe coach possible.
Yeah, exactly right.
You didn't listen to the theory. Okay, cool. He's still shredded.
Yeah. It's like whoop-de-doo. He still got the result. And what's the problem?
So the outcome was achieved. He didn't die, and he got a place.
The outcome wasn't achieved. You didn't give him an eating disorder.
Yeah, sorry. That's right. I didn't give it. I'll have to work on that for next time to make sure that he has a worse relationship with food. Then I'll achieve my job.
Exactly, and it's got to be bodybuilding's fault.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
Go back to story today. It's got to be bodybuilding's fault.
100%. It's always bodybuilding's fault.
But that's none of my business. Sips coffee.
Yes, like a competitive. Well, I mean, I don't know if I want to call bodybuilding a sport, but a competitive thing is the fault of every psychological problem that's ever happened.
Yeah, up until this time of my life where I decided to start competing, it is the fault of all the psychological neuroticisms that I possess.
That you voluntarily did.
And chose to do. So that psychology and therapy you avoided and chose not to do, and then chose bodybuilding instead. Probably should have chose the therapy.
The iron is my therapy. Sure.
The therapy is your therapy. That's the therapy. That's how that works. The dentistry is my spinal surgery. That's what you're saying. That's the equivalent of what you said.
100%. I broke my arm, so I'm going to see a podiatrist. Got it. Because it makes logical sense.
Yeah, I'm going to see a kidney specialist, but also my leg is amputated.
Yeah, I didn't realize how over people I am by Wednesday.
I'm just over people. I didn't get over people in general.
It's been a big week. It's been 2 days in, and I've had a really good 2 days. I barely encountered anyone, and I'm already over people. It's great. Fucking love it. I've had, mate, honestly, like when you listen, like this has been my day so far, and like just you'll appreciate this. I got up, I went to the gym and had a great training session. By the way, definitely due for a deload. Pumps are getting so fucking painful right now. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not good. I then decided to go get treatment straight after because it's literally around the corner, right? I get home, I have a bottle of water, I have a couple of little roll wrappy things because, diet life, and then decided to go to the range and have a great practice session.
Nice.
I came home, I ate some scrambled eggs, and now I'm doing this podcast. In that space of time, in that limited amount of people, I'm over people. just for reference, it's been a great day.
But that 2-hour window of people.
That social media, like that social media tag where I was just looking at everyone and being like, you guys are stupid.
Look, that's fair. That is fair.
Anyway,
let's rant
about dumping. Let's
Rant
rant
about
about
dumb
dumb people
people.
again. Yeah, let's do it. What's pissed
Right.
you off again?
That's that's time for Ben's rants.
I mean,
Hercules,
like I said,
Hercules.
I stopped following these people because it was just
Do a
easier.
muscle. Do a muscle.
And you know me, like I'm the type I'll follow a lot of different, we'll call them spectrum people, both sides of the spectrum, so that I can get, I can grasp what they're trying. I mean, there's some people where I'm just like, no, like I can't be fucked.
Just shut up. Just
Just
shut
yeah,
up.
like just stop.
Gone. You're
Yeah,
out.
literally.
Funny joke. Funny joke. Before we get into that, last night, a mate of mine shared a story as a physio, and he shared a post, and it was like
I,
cardio on this cardio for this. It was like cardio on the spectrum or for the spectrum, and I was like, wait, fuck, are you guys prescribing cardio based on the spectrum? I was like,
because I'm here for
yeah, I was like,
it.
what spectrum are you give? What cardio are you giving autism or ADHD? Like, what do we got
Yeah,
going on here?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
okay,
And
throw
like,
things at a wall to
yeah,
distract yourself.
is this a social experiment we're trying? Because
Yeah.
I'm down. Let's
I was
do
like,
this.
I'm curious, and how do I join?
Yeah, yeah.
How am I part of this? And sign me up. I'll do
I have,
four things at once, also while your eyes are closed,
yeah,
and
I'll start
skateboarding.
prescribing cardio to clients who I think should be on the spectrum and not tell them. So I'm just going to get
Yeah,
you to do this paradigm of cardio, and I'm going to get you to do this paradigm of cardio.
100%.
Why? Just want to see what happens.
Yeah, just for science, just for
Yeah, yeah.
science.
No real reason you need to know.
Yeah. He meant the intensity spectrum, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay, that
you
makes
should
more sense.
probably clear that one up in your
Yeah, I
post.
was like, all right, so I thought it was for this reason.
Yeah, you
It's
should
like
probably change the
fucking
wording
weird.
a little bit.
Yeah. It's like, look, it's a shorthand post. We're going to take you at your
Yeah,
word. This is what you said.
yeah,
I'm assuming we're talking about
yeah,
spectrum cardio.
yeah. I like it. I like where his brain went.
Yeah.
Du
At this
double
point,
on,
like,
yeah, double entendre things. I'm all here for it.
yeah, exactly right. You're going to piss some people off and make a point. I like it. You're going to catch
Yeah,
people like me that are trying to take the piss. I like it.
yeah,
Uh,
100%.
things that have pissed me off. Well, so one of the things I've noticed of late is the resurgence of bodybuilding for people who were actively patronizing, condescending, disrespecting, disengaging, ridiculing, mocking, criticizing every izing that you can come up with, basically, of bodybuilding itself. So it's a little favorite of mine because it's a almost dichotomous polarization with how significant the change is for these people. And like, you'll see content be all about like uh acceptances, mindfulness, just do this, neuroticism, you don't have to track things to do anything successful. These people are extreme. You're not like this. Gen Pop don't have to track things and don't have to be this way. And you're like, all right, cool. That's your belief. It's fantastic. Literally, like it's like that out of nowhere. It's like almost like a split personality, bipolar, almost like a manic flip of the switch.
Hmm.
And it just goes, okay, also bodybuilding, here's me in like my shirt off or underwear or my check-in photos, tracking all these things, doing all this stuff. I'm competing this year or I'm competing next year. I'm doing this. Bodybuilding's great again. Okay, so what we're seeing is it wasn't bodybuilding at first that you spent all of your entire identity basically ridiculing and mocking as a sport or hobby or interest or passion. It wasn't that thing that was the problem. We can establish that now. What we've recognized is you went away, did some introspection, assessed some problems, looked at your psychosis and looked at your actual psyche as general, and were like, what am I thinking and actually feeling around these topics? Was it this thing that caused it? Probably the underlying life that I lived up until that point that I never treated or got cared for, and then also displayed it in a way that came through bodybuilding that I didn't like. Okay, I'll fix that. Now I want to go back to bodybuilding. All of a sudden, actually, it's really progressive and positive and actually constructive.
Yeah, and what's even more fun is those that do that but have already been pre-diagnosed with things and then still try to blame it on something else, and you're like,
Oh yeah, they're my favorite. They're my
oh yeah,
favorite.
they're the best. It's like bodybuilding gave me this. No, you had that pre-bodybuilding.
Yeah.
You've actually actively posted about it pre-bodybuilding.
Yeah, we've seen this
We've
either in your
seen it.
content. We've seen this in your content. We've seen this in the content
Yeah.
you shared about.
Your con like the content is still on your fucking wall.
Yeah,
Like,
legit. Like
what?
I don't get people who can switch so easily and think that I can't just scroll 5 weeks and
Yeah,
see it.
yeah,
Like,
it's literally like my same gripe with those that are hating on biomechanics. It's like these are the same morons that were
yep.
preaching biomechanics like literally this time last year. Like they're preaching biomechanics and they're like, oh, now everyone's that does biomechanics is a biomechanics specialist and blah blah blah. Just train hard. It's like, dickhead, read your post from like 20 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You're talking about biomechanics right then. Like, come on, man.
See, yeah, it's one of those things that like what it tells me is that you aren't actually, and okay, you shouldn't be fixed in your beliefs, and you shouldn't be fixed in what you, excuse me, you shouldn't be fixed in a specific literature, right? Like we know that like good coaching or evidence-based coaching, we're flexible in what we're actually understanding. I'm about, oh, excuse me, I'm about getting clients a result. I'm fixed on getting a result. I'm not fixed on the way that how I get there. I'll do 20 different things for the same different clients, or sorry, the same different clients, oxymoron, for different clients trying to get the same result. Okay, so that's great. I don't have a method that is just this is how it's done for everyone. I understand that. But when you're at that point where you're basically, I don't even know how to describe it, you're fixated on such a point that it's basically your identity and your entire content belief. Like everything you share, you talk about, you post, you give your clients, you recommend, everything is that way. And then instantly, like we're going to change the entire direction of how I talk about this and presume that no one's going to notice. Like we're not going to pick up on this, that you're literally doing the very thing that you were agonizingly against less than a year ago or less than 2 years ago. And putting yourself in that position, like if your words were so true about the way you spoke about, let's say, bodybuilding, and this can be the same for any neurotic engagement, whether that be you want to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, whether you want to be an elite athlete, whether you want to bodybuilder, powerlifting, strongman, whether you want to fucking be a grade 7 student, as in like at university, I'm going to get sevens in everything I do. Whatever it is, like whatever that pursuit is, if your entire premise was to talk shit about that and absolutely just rip in and ridicule that thing, then you proceed to go and do that very thing. All that's telling me is that you don't actually have, like, you're not representing the values you claim to have as a person.
Yeah.
Like you're like the morality you apparently supposedly have and the beliefs that you possess are literally adjusted based on the people you engage with. So, for a while, perhaps maybe as a coach or a client or whatever it is you do, or an educator or a content creator, you've engaged with a certain group, the mindfulness crowd and the lifestyle Gen Pop don't need to track anything and they're great just the way they are sort of crowd. And then you go over here to, you've left that crowd and I'm not with them anymore because fuck those guys. I realize that, they're idiots and annoying and fucking dumb. So now you've gone back to bodybuilding, you've gone over here. All of a sudden, all these things are okay again. Well, what that is telling me is that you're so unsure of who you are and what you actually believe and what you stand for that you're just changing your opinions based on the people you're around. And not from an educated perspective. Otherwise, if it was educated, you wouldn't have had that belief in the first place.
Exactly right.
It's a personal, like almost an insecurity to people pleasing. I need to be around these people and get their attention or validate what they think by saying it again. And I can join that crowd. Now I'm going to go join this crowd. I'm going to back on the bandwagon of bodybuilding, insert whatever neurotic behavior it can claim to be. It drives me insane. You can have, like, you can be sure of yourself as an individual. You can have your beliefs and your virtues, your values, your morals. You can have all those things. If it's just changing based on who you're around, not with the research or literature or the education, then that isn't you being an educated person. That's you being a people pleaser and trying to find a crowd to fit into.
Yeah, which it's funny because I guess that's almost human nature, right? Like we know that that does happen, and we know that like it's quite common, but at what expense or at what
Yeah,
cost?
exactly right.
Yeah, like you can, yeah. It's funny also because people always want to gravitate to those that think similar, do similar, I guess are similar.
Yeah,
And it's
camps and
all,
echo chambers, right?
yeah, and it's always usually those that go against the grain, as it were. For those that don't know, it's an Akon reference also, just saying. Um, great song. Anyway, moving on. That tend to do well, progress more, understand more,
Mm-hmm.
because they're willing to usually challenge things, whether it be themselves or whether it be their beliefs or whether it be other people's beliefs and all that sort of stuff. So, um, being a bit more, I guess, critical thinking esque, you may need to walk that line of challenging people and sort of being a bit more lonely about it in that
Mm-hmm.
aspect, that is. versus, trying to please everyone and trying to feel like you're a part of something, I guess, in a sense, which, yeah, it does happen. But at the same time, like we said before, at what cost?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, let's say you're building because reality is like, let's say you're building a following or a like a follower on your social medias on your platforms. At a certain point, the people who started following you, whether it be for coaching or business or education or your content or your information, are going to see that shift and no longer agree or align with what you've shared. Well, like, well, this is what you were saying 12 months ago, 2 years ago. Now all of a sudden you're doing that very
Mm.
thing that you told all of us was absolutely impossible to do and disgusting and dangerous and neurotic and mentally unstable. Well, which is it? Because I was
Well,
following you, you were saying this,
yeah.
and now this.
But yeah, the other side to that is if you're going to go do that, I guess acknowledge it, like acknowledge what I guess
Yeah,
you had probably spoken about in the past and be like, hey, whether you still even think that you were right in the first place and you're doing it as a challenge. I mean, sure, write that or say that, I guess. Like if you're like, hey, bodybuilding is this and this, but I'm going to go do it to prove it. Probably a
yeah,
stupid way to do it, but
a little bit.
at least you're acknowledging and then you're actually stating why. So then people
Yeah,
aren't confused. And it's
yeah,
kind of like it's probably the other thing, right? That we see a lot, like these juxtapositions of things that happen. And it's like, well, hold on. If you had just simply said that, you'd be like, okay, cool. Moving on. Not worry about
yeah,
it. Instead, you get ranted about on the podcast.
yeah, exactly right. And we're gonna
And you could have avoided that by
you
simply
could have avoided that on
saying.
this multi-million listener podcast where now everyone's going to think you're silly.
Yeah, exactly
But
right.
it's like, but it just gets to a point to me, like, especially like, don't get me wrong, if you had like, you use the literature to back you up and you're like, look, I think these things because of these reasons, fantastic. But it's not actually found in the research. It's not grounded in the research the way that these people claim it to be. Like if we're talking about, say, exactly bodybuilding specifically being so highly neurotic and dangerous and mentally disordered, blah, blah, the literature does not support that claim
Yeah.
in the most of those who do it. If you do it for the wrong reasons, as we've already talked about 100 times on the podcast, if you do it for reasons underlying that aren't actually significant to your important or actually powerful and in line with your values as a person or your why, your purpose, if you will, if you're doing it for like short-term validation, instant gratification, all that sort of shit, yes, absolutely, it's going to be a bad fucking time. But that is the same with any endeavor in life if you are doing that for anything. So if you've specifically stood out and harped on something and you've attacked it and you've gone, hey, fucking this is a piece of shit, screw this, everything here is like terrible, blah, blah, blah. Then you go and do that exact thing that you were talking about. Like, I don't even know the word to describe how silly you look because
Yeah.
you're
I mean,
like, I
yeah.
mean, I can think of a few words, but fuck me. Like, I, I will, why I will never talk about powerlifting or strongman anymore outside of what you've taught me or what I know, because I have no fucking idea. I don't know anything about it. It doesn't
The,
serve me to make fun of it.
don't get me started. Don't.
Get started.
The last couple of days, like, don't get me wrong, powerlifting and I guess the majority of education in powerlifting, whether it be training education or like supplementation, so PED usage education, is pretty dumb, pretty bad. Maybe starting to change a little bit, maybe very hard to say. Strongman, on the other hand, when it look, hmm, how do I say this nicely? PED side of things in strongman. This is what I'm going to address specifically, not the other shit. Well,
I'm
maybe
actually intrigued about this.
you can probably throw nutrition in there a little bit too, to be honest. Now that I think about it, but specifically PED usage, they're all fucking dumb. Give me one. Like, if you're a strongman listening to this and you're on PEDs, tell me your stack. Like, DM me your stack, and I'm gonna tell you whether it is good, bad, or indifferent. Because the ones that I've heard so far this week, so far, are ridiculous. From what it appears from the outside in, because I don't do strongman, I don't lift rocks because it doesn't interest me because I'm not a landscaper. So, like, I'm not a rock hugger, so I have no interest in rocks.
Not a
Okay?
landscaper.
Like
Get fucked.
just saying, I'm not interested. However, however, I'm always interested in science, and when it comes to PED usage, obviously,
Mhm.
what it looks like is these. guys and girls are relying more so on the PEDs to help move these awkward size objects because a lot of these objects,
Yeah.
when it comes to weight and relative to weight, they're really not, I guess, that heavy in a sense. Like
Yeah.
100 kilo stone is still 100 kilos. Yes,
Yes.
it's an awkward shape. Yes, it's an
Yes.
awkward technique required. 100%. 100%. But it doesn't take away from the fact that it's still 100 kilos. And if you grab a barbell, you put 100 kilos on it, you're probably going to throw it through the roof,
Yep.
right? So they're now using drugs to help with move weight because their technique is probably shit,
Hmm.
or they're putting more strain on themselves through a technical aspect.
Hmm.
And to deal with that stress, they're taking more drugs. That feels very flawed to me.
Yeah. Logic
Like,
doesn't add up.
no, like there is skill, I guess, required to pick weird shit up and put it back down. Okay, I'll admit that. Cool, fair enough. There is a lot of shit like farmers walks and all that. The frame walks and shit
Hmm.
requires a certain level of technique and skill and all that sort of stuff. I can appreciate that. Relying on drugs and taking more drugs to fix those potential issues is probably not the way to go about it.
Hmm.
So like yeah, the stacks that I've been hearing the last few days, I'm just sitting there like, huh? Like
Well,
what?
the equivalence of that would be as if, like, well, let's put it this way. Like, so you go on a job site, there is OH&S, like your occupational health and safety, workplace health and safety standards, policies, procedures. There are certain practical ways of lifting certain loads and doing things. Like, I used to be a formwork scaffolder and labeler, chippy, right? So
Yeah.
you'll be taught, how can I carry the most amount of stuff across the site with doing the least amount of work, and also bear it in a safe way, so that you would know, like, a certain time, like, don't carry all your 2x4s and all your framing on the right side every single time you do it, because it'll disproportionately load one side, right? Ends up going to be pretty dangerous and pretty uncomfortable in different loads and all that sort of shit. And then you got to walk on things like mesh netting, you got to walk on stuff that's awkward and unorthodox. So they teach you, like, there's procedural ways to make sure you stand on the trusses correctly, make sure you walk on the parts that are loaded and stand on the beams, not on the
Like
netting. So you've got a standard procedure of systems to operate and improve how you're doing something to cause the least amount of harm.
yeah, like
Like, I don't see bosses being like, hey, let's take some gear to make you more effective at fucking carrying this frame across the fucking job site.
yeah, you like yeah. I don't know. Look, I don't know if I could be bothered going into strongman and like trying to work shit out because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't care. But just yeah, hearing that and then trying to piece what I understand of strongman together, I'm just like, this doesn't make much sense to me. Like taking more drugs to lift the same amount of weight. It's just your technique in lifting that weight probably needs work, and I don't think drugs is the answer. But anyway, that's yeah, my spiel.
That's fair.
Yeah, like
That's
there's
fair.
there's 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 people like running orals for like 17 weeks. Like
Oh, fuck.
what? What?
Bruh.
Yeah, like what? Do you,
What's a
are you
liver?
yeah, like anyway. Anyway.
Oh.
I know, and then these people sort of laugh and joke, and then you see their faces and they're really red, and you're like, you should probably check your blood
Yeah.
pressure. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're laughing
You
and
got
your face is
PE
getting that
160
red,
over 200 going on.
yeah, but that's okay. Heart health isn't a thing apparently because as long as I can lift my rock, I'm good.
Yeah, like, man,
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm all for the immediate goal and do whatever it takes. So, like, I'm the
Mm.
first person to say, like, let's fucking do it. But there's got to be a method and a procedure to it, right? Like,
Yeah.
you got to look at, okay, I'm probably not going to be a strongman until I'm 75. So
Mm.
am I lifting this for the immediacy, or am I
Yeah.
actually going to look at what happens afterward? Because I can tell you right now, having watched and walked Dad through his chemo and his treatments, if you have a shutdown liver or a dysfunctioning liver and you have to be on dialysis, your options of treatments when things get older and you get sicker fucking go down.
Yeah.
We already have to have like the list of old age medications that are hepatotoxic and start to cause consequences if you have a dysfunctioning liver or kidney. Well, guess what? They fucking don't work, or you're not allowed to take them because they cause more damage.
Yeah.
So doing things now the least sensible way possible to achieve an outcome like lifting a heavier rock, like, I get it, but there's also got to be a fucking, like, there's got to be a safer use model to it. There has to
Yeah,
be.
I do wonder. Like, I'm not very familiar with the like the criteria of moving through competitions to get to like the next level and how that works. I got
Yeah.
no idea when it comes to strongman, but I do wonder if like that criteria might be whether it may be skewed. So it's like to get from, like a local to a state comp, like, is that easy or is it hard? Like to go from
Yeah.
state to like a national comp, is that easy or is that hard? And is that
Mhm.
potentially skewing people's thoughts as to whether they need to use PEDs or more PEDs, I guess, in that sort of
Yeah.
sense when it comes to strongman. And then obviously going from, I guess national to international would be a pretty big jump as well. So it's like, but I don't know because it's not my
Yeah.
thing. So I'm not going to comment on that. But I do want, these are the thoughts that go through my head. Like, is that
Yeah.
skewing or is that having an effect on why these people are running, copious amounts of PEDs for an extended
But I
period
mean,
of time?
is that same premise then not just the same as bodybuilding? It's like, well, we
Yeah,
can
but
rush you to the end now, or you can
yeah.
just take time
No,
and
no,
get better.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's like at least though I can comment on bodybuilding because I know how the structure works. It's like
Yeah,
powerlifting.
yeah.
I know how that works. Like I know
Mhm.
what's required to go from here and what you can and can't do. Like
Yeah,
roughly based on obviously the client in front of you and then what you have on hand or to potentially have on hand for
correct.
exogenous use. So yeah, I don't know for strongman. I don't
Yeah,
get how it works. I don't know what their numbers are. I don't know
yeah, yeah.
how that works because obviously they're different events and I think they acquire points. I don't know. Fucking who knows. But anyway, people are stupid. That's all I'm going to go with.
People are stupid. Yes, don't get me wrong. Like, and the thing is too, I never say these things with the intent I don't find the activity or interest or hobby impressive. Like, I'm always impressed with large amounts of weight because my back will never handle it. I will never get to be someone again that gets to do like a fucking 300-400 kilo deadlift. To me, it won't be sensical to do it. So when I see someone nail it, I'm like, that's fucking awesome. That's sick. You are pushing the feats of human strength. But
Yeah.
also, is it worth dropping dead tomorrow for because you shut down your systems and gone into complete system shutdown and failure?
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's
I
like,
mean, what's the point? Because
yeah,
powerlifting, strongman, even I guess to a point, bodybuilding from 99% of people, like, is the pursuit worth the repercussion? Because are you going to be able to say at the end of your days that was worth it? Because it's
yeah,
like that's how I look at it from a health perspective. That is right, and it's like you've done all these drugs. So let's just say for strongman, you didn't really get anywhere in strongman. Maybe
mm-hmm.
maybe you had a state record for like 5 minutes until the next person behind
Mm-hmm.
you broke it again.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, was like at the end of it, and then you have heart complications, liver complications, kidney complications.
Mm-hmm.
Can you honestly say when you're potentially on fucking dialysis or when you're in and out of hospitals,
Mm-hmm.
if you can turn around and honestly say, yeah, that was worth it, good on you. Fair
Yeah,
call. Fair
yeah,
cop for you. But really, like, are you going to be able to turn around and say, yeah, 100% that was worth it? Because if it's not 100%, it's a no. And
yeah.
if there's any fucking doubt, stop. Stop
Mm-hmm.
or change. Don't stop. That's probably
Yeah,
probably a bad way to say it. I'm going to be the
mitigate.
last, but yeah, I'm going to be the last person to tell you to say stop.
Mm-hmm.
But change your approach.
Yeah,
Look at the longevity. Look at the enjoyment you can have for a longer period of time. Because if you genuinely love something, normally you want to do it for a longer period of time.
right.
Yes, just saying. Unless you're 30-second wonder and you just go 4 or 5 times, that's fine. Same. But you know what I mean? It's like if you enjoy something so much, you're probably going to want to do it more over a stretch of time versus loving it now and then giving it everything. And it's like I hear powerlifters like, I've only got 4 or 5 years left in this sport. I was like, well, that's 4 or 5 years of what? Like being an elite,
Yeah, what are you basing this on?
abusing yourself to be elite. Like, what do you mean? You can still powerlift 10 in 10 years' time. You may not lift the same numbers that you did, but you can still do powerlifting and you can still enjoy what you're doing because you're tied to the numbers on the bar versus the sport and the love for the sport itself. And it's
Yes.
like now having guys like that retire from sport, like your MJs and all these guys that are still playing, they still love it.
Yeah.
They still shoot a basketball. They just don't compete. Like,
I'm pretty sure I watched a video where it was like after a finals game, Michael walked onto the court and was like he was dressed to train or whatever it was, and he was like, I think it was back at the gym somewhere. It wasn't the Bulls, it might have been someone else, but he literally just said, "Who's going around? I'm ready to go." And this was after like well into retirement. After he's done, he's taking NBA stars and being like, "All right, who's up? Like, what do you guys got? Let's drill." And obviously, the love for him is competition, challenging people, and being like, "Well, fucking, I've still got it. I can do this."
yeah,
Not to the degree he's playing for the Bulls, but enough that he's like, "All right, let's go." I'm not like for me, one of the main reasons why I stopped even like playing footy and shit like that is I don't have anyone to kick a ball with anymore, and I
Yeah.
don't have a place to kick a ball in the city anymore, and I also don't have the ability to go like with the new direction of my physique and physical development. It's illogical to put that pressure or risk onto my joints to play park footy, C grade footy, to play local league touch. Like the risks that come with lateral movement, forward movement, rapid changes of pace, all that sort of stuff that used to be associated with me playing footy doesn't suit it. So it's not that I've lost like a love. I can still throw a pass 25 meters. Like I can still spiral the ball and put it where I want to put it. That's just a skill that I learned over 20 years of playing. I don't have a lost love of throwing a ball around. It's just that right now it doesn't suit me.
Yeah, and it's like I have the same thing with tennis. I love tennis. Problem is with tennis, finding people to play with. Now, and it's not just finding people to play with, it's finding people to play with at a level that I'm going to enjoy. Now, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, I played at a very high level. So even when I play now and want to hit, I still hit probably at a higher level than I guess your general person, right? That goes to the court and hits. So it's very difficult for me to go out and enjoy myself and play with people that can hit the way I want to hit and be able to keep up. It's just an unfortunate, like it's just one of those things. But I get to go play golf because guess what? I'm not playing anyone. I'm playing the course. And there's many golf courses here in Australia because English decided to come and put a lot of golf courses in, and that's probably one of the only things I'm going to thank them for. Being Aboriginal and all. We'll thank them for the golf courses. So it's like, I can go play a different course and I'm literally playing a different person. I can play the same course a different way and I'm like playing a different opponent again and again. So that's my thing for that. That's my love for it. And yeah, I want to play golf for the next 30 fucking years. Guess what? I'll be playing golf for the next 30 bloody years. You know why? Because I'm not going to abuse myself now so that I can't play it in 10 years' time. Like, that makes no sense to me.
It's the same premise when people have said to me, like, oh, you'll lose interest in bodybuilding, or like you'll like I remember dad said to me once, he's like, oh, when you stop training, you'll just get like blow out and you just be fat. And I was like, well, hang on. Firstly, the premise or the preposition here is that I'm going to stop training or that I'm going to stop loving what I do. Like the issue I find is when people lose themselves in the thing they retire from, or like, the outcome didn't occur. So it's like, well, now I've got into the job that I have to do for the rest of my life and I've got nothing else to work for, blah, blah. Part of my job is mostly successful because I love what I do in the gym and get to show that to people and get to share it with people and like help people achieve the same thing. Yeah. I love that. Like, no, yes, the risk every day that I go in there, I'm gonna flare up my back and I'm gonna hurt something. Yep, that's there. But you know what? I fucking love it because it's a challenge every single week that I get better and avoid injury and can improve my physique. My physique development, like, there's the whole like every year after 40 it starts to go downwards, blah, blah, blah. That's great. There are motherfuckers that are training Olympia level till they're 50. Yeah. Okay. Let's say I started this at 25, which is relatively around the time that I did, if that, maybe 26. I'm 4 years into what could be a 30, 40-year journey of actual competitive status before I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to back off this and just chill. Like, that doesn't have to be, well, I've got 10 years in this sport before it's no good. Well, I guess I better stop. If I fucking love it and I love the lifestyle of what I'm doing, which, as I say to most of my clients when they start at prep should just be facilitating a lifestyle you already live anyway.
Yeah,
if you love it, why are you fucking stopping?
Exactly, and like competing, post competition, part of your life, you're still going to go to the gym. You're still going to train.
Exactly.
You're still going to look to, I guess, progress in some form, but whatever that looks like for you at that time, because again, that's the difference. Time.
Yes.
It's like things change, but at the same time, you're still doing exactly what you did before. Like, you're still routine based. You're still keeping everything the same. Like, the variables don't really change. You get up, you go gym, you go train. Like, fuck, there's no difference.
Like, you can see in the, like you watch the bro chats and stuff like that, or like bodybuilding bollocks. All the guys in there who have retired are still living a very similar lifestyle, just without the total dosage of drugs, the degree of food intake, and probably the training intensity. Well, actually, probably the training load. Training intensity is relatively the same. Like, you look at your Fuads now, they just love their volume and super going hard. So relatively, they're still keeping in line with what they love to do and their values as a person, their priorities. It's just, okay, I'm probably not going to dedicate a year of my life to competing every year when I know it's like my health is at risk. So what I'll do is back off that, still do it, and run my business or my family or my company, or grow my endeavors or whatever that is. But fundamentally, a part of them is still the thing that they love doing, which was training, or the lifestyle of training and eating food and being on point and being regimented and fucking conscientious. Like, that doesn't just stop and go, oh well, I've got 4 years in the sport, I gotta fuck myself up and then I just stop forever and never touch a gym again. Like, that doesn't, like, the ones who you see get most unhealthy are the ones who do that. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm done with the sport, so I'm going to stop everything entirely. Like you look
Yeah.
at like your Sean Rays and that just blew out after competing, where they just look like a ton of dicks.
Yeah.
And like they still got the most to say about bodybuilding, but they look like shit.
Yeah.
Fair enough, you did it for 20 years, whatever. And now you're like, well, I've done this. Now I can just eat what I want. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. You do you. But the ones who do the best out of it post life are generally the ones who stay relatively still in line with the thing that they love doing. Doesn't have to be your priority anymore. Doesn't have to be like the end of like your entire life existence anymore. But at a certain degree, you're probably still going to do the same thing and stay on top of it.
Yeah.
I could foresee a time in my life where I'm not doing a sport, activity, or train. Like I just don't know where that would be because that's literally what I love to do.
Yeah, it's exactly right because it is a love. It's like it's what you do, right? It's like
Yeah,
for
legit.
me, it's like I love to go gym and train, but don't get me wrong, I don't have that emotional tie, I guess, to training as much as I guess someone like yourself, right? Like it's not like I've trained for forever. It's just like for me, it's like I have no real reason to get
Mm-hmm.
yoked. Like I like to go
Mm-hmm.
train. I enjoy training, don't get me wrong, but it's like
Yeah.
for me, it's like I can see golf being like something that I want to progress and get to and do long term. Doesn't mean I'm not going to not go to the gym. It's just that
Yeah.
if I had to pick one, it'd probably be golf over the gym for now. Like
Yeah.
at the moment, anyway. Like I love both, but it's like it's part of the lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's my lifestyle. Like if I ever wanted to go competitive with either, it's just obviously a shift, right? But
Yeah.
it doesn't change or negate the fact that it's still part of my lifestyle. It's always been
Yeah,
there.
you would probably still do either one, even if you went, okay, I'm going to go full tilt
Yeah,
with golf.
yeah,
Okay, you're probably still going to go to the gym 2 or 3
yeah,
times a week.
100% because it's part of my fucking lifestyle.
Yeah, that's not a crazy thing to think.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
but you
doesn't
said you're committed
change.
to golf. Yep, I'm probably
Yeah,
still going to do some training.
100%. And if you're crazy to think that golfers don't do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's ramble in some questions, shall we?
Right.
All right, now to go through and find the questions, considering all the fucking stupid shit that came up on these comments. Let's have a look. We'll wade through it all. All right. So, don't know about you, but I actually asked who is the goat of sport?
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I thought it was a good one. I was going to ask a very provocative one about Valentine's Day and thought, ooh, should I?
Who
Should
fell for
I?
capitalist marketing a fucking
Well,
Western holiday?
I was gonna ask that and just to see like and then gauge like I can see why you answered that way because like not you as in like the person answering hypothetically would be funny. But then I thought I saw Tiger Woods coming back, which I already knew, so I'm like, well, we're gonna ask the goat question because we're gonna ask the goat question.
That's fair.
So
And how is it not LeBron?
I mean, we've had naturally someone reply me because I said so, so we're not gonna even address that, Ellie. Um,
Sit down, take a knee.
so someone's thrown out Usain Bolt has only ran a total of 325 seconds to become the greatest, which is very mind blowing. True.
I would call bullshit on that. He's competitively probably run that many numbers, but
Yes.
over his over his lifespan, he's definitely run more than 320
Yeah,
seconds.
I would imagine it is 325 seconds to win all his gold medals.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So, which is still, I guess, in itself an incredible feat.
100%. It's fucking freakish.
We have Ewan saying Ewan because he's just the goat.
Ah, kid.
Kid needs to be slapped.
capital
When I come up, I'm slapping you, Ewan. Just saying.
capital punishment.
Yeah, not even. It was just pleasure on my behalf, but that's fine.
What are your fucking questions over the year?
So we've got Jordan. Someone's thrown out Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's a
6-0
very
is pretty
fair
good.
call. Tiger. I
Yep.
mean, yes. Roy Jones Jr. is a interesting one. I mean, he was a very good boxer. I just hmm, don't know if I'd put him up there. I'd have to like you'd have to analyze his stats more than anything. The goal with this question is really to go on stats versus bias,
Yep.
which is really obviously tricky to do. And there's never a right answer. And that's probably should have,
Yeah.
probably pretense this with. There is literally no right answer. It's just an
Yeah.
interesting thought because
Everyone's criteria becomes subjectively unique and relative when it comes to them
yeah,
answering the question,
and
right?
then they've thrown out Ali and Canelo. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
but then even still, if you're going to go off data and points, you'd go Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, so we've got my point, right? And then
Yeah.
someone's throwing out Kiriakos, the Grizzly, so powerlifter, which was a freak. And then the thing is, I was having this conversation when I was getting treatment today because it was just a great conversation. Um, People, I guess, don't consider some of the outside sports as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Like
Let's up.
there's well, yeah, like there's so many sports that like
Yeah.
winter as well, like skiing, pipe, like
Yeah.
snowboarding pipe and that sort of stuff. And
Tony
then you've
Hawk,
got
like
yeah,
actual
like
Tony Hawk, like
yeah, like
freak.
yeah, like you know what I mean when we say like the greatest of their sport of all time. Then like no one said Federer, which is
Yeah. That's what I was
sad.
about to say, Federer.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and it's like yeah, these are like so many different aspects, and it's always an interesting debate to say like who is the greatest and like why. So it's like talking to the therapist this morning, he's like, he thinks LeBron he's probably the better one out of, LeBron, Kobe, Jordan. And then literally I just simply said, well, but would you say that if Michael had the same availability to the science that LeBron does?
mhm.
And he's like, oh, I'm like, yeah. I go, these are just things to think about, right? Like, there's just so many different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, what about? And then like I just throw out, like, what about Larry Bird?
Yeah.
He's got better stats than LeBron. Like, eh.
Like one of the things for me when I look at that criteria that people never talk about is what I call almost like time pivots.
Yeah,
So at a certain point of when a goat really impacts a sport or a game, there is a pivot in how that game is now played based on the impact that person had. It happened when we looked at how Wally Lewis played rugby league. It then happened how we looked at how Andrew Johns played halfback. It then happened how we looked at, say, Michael came in and played as a 2-point versus 3-point shooter. Steph Curry come in as a 3-point shooter. We look at things like soccer when you have like your Ronaldos, and then you start to get to your Messis, and you start to get to other way around, your Messi into Ronaldo.
yeah,
Like at certain points, a game or a sport is altered based on the impact that person had in the way they played it. Entire leagues had to adapt to that person's style to shut it down or adapt.
yeah,
That to me is more significant, or as significant as like the stats that come through. But obviously, like everyone uniquely, individually is going to say, well, this person had a bigger impact. Like I remember I was having this argument with someone where the new goat is always better, i.e., LeBron is always better than Michael. But I argued Andrew Johns was
yeah,
much greater than Jonathan Thurston. The
yeah,
way Jonathan with Thurston was playing was already an adaptive mode to the way the game was being played. It wasn't like he transitioned the entire speed of the game based on his game style. When Andrew Johns was playing halfback and the impact he had on a team, it was literally because of him a team won. Like that, he did the whole comeback in State of Origins. He did the whole comeback for Newcastle. So the way the game was played as a halfback went from being just an offensive player to well now almost like a lock utility that is a defender, as a tackler, as a runner, can pass, can step, can handle his own out on the field. That's now a halfback. That's what is expected of a 7. Okay, cool. That now from that point on, there is a transition of this is where the game was going. This is what it's done. So that
yeah.
is like that to me
And
starts
it's
to
a and,
be
it, and
still
it's always
go.
hard to pick an athlete in a team sport.
Yeah,
It is so hard to pick,
100%.
one person out of a team sport. And it's like basketball, you can almost get away with it because it's really only five people on your team. They're playing,
Yeah.
any one time, right? Or four of you,
Mm-hmm.
including the person. So it's like, but you start to talk about like soccer. You start to
Mm-hmm.
talk about like, even AFL football, for example. You start to talk about, NRL, fucking NFL. Like, really? Like, there's
Yeah.
so, like, really? Like, there's so many, like, Peyton Manning, freak. Like, so many people there that, Wayne Brady, freak. Not Wayne Brady. What's his name?
Tom Brady.
Tom
Wayne
Brady.
Brady.
Wayne Brady's the
Whose
comedian.
line is it anyway?
Yeah, I love Wayne Brady. He's a great player.
Wayne Brady is good.
Tom Brady, like,
Yeah.
really? Like, there's so many people. But then again, you look at something like that, or even NRL or AFL, they're only played in one country. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, NRL, maybe a couple of countries, but
Hey, we have a World
really,
Cup.
yeah, let's not get into that one.
I mean, it's not as comparative to America calling their baseball the World Series.
Yeah, it's kind
No,
of like AFL play internationally as well, and they have an international World Cup. But
no,
it's
yeah,
like,
Gaelic footy.
well, no, they actually have like a World Cup for footy. Like here, they usually it's hosted here in Australia. Like
Oh,
it's
really?
only been yeah, they have like teams that play from all different countries. I can't remember how many countries there were last time, but I know there were like Lebanon. I think there was like China. There was like a couple
Yeah, right.
teams. Yeah. Like it was obviously not a professional thing. It was a very
Uh,
sub-divisional thing, but it was a thing. It was still a thing. But
yeah,
we don't
fair.
talk. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, how do you pick? And
Yeah.
now we've only, I guess, if you want to really sort of put into context, listed like males, and there's so many female athletes that are like absolute freaks as well. And you just sit there and you're like, yeah, that's why there's never a right answer. It's just always an interesting debate to have with people and just see what answers people spit out.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that's all I had on mine because then my phone decided to go nuts when I got tagged. It's still
Okay,
going.
I got some
Fucking
questions.
go.
Does eating dinner closer to bedtime negatively affect anything, sleep or digestion? Yes, it can. It can, especially I guess the load or total calorie, total amount of food, the quality, the type of food. That will obviously impact digestion. Digestion requires energy in the system. Will then prioritize obviously digesting and passing it. Can in fact. Well, then what type of foods? Is it caffeinated? Does it have carbohydrate, sugars, things like that, which will then impact your digestibility, how well it's digested. If it's impacting your sleep, it's going to be issues around digestion later on as well. But yeah, I generally sleep better on a full stomach, but at the same time, like I can't have something heavy in my guts that it was going to take like 10 hours to digest and basically wake up, give me the runs. I'll usually have something quite simple before I go to bed probably with protein and carbs.
Yep,
That's about the
fair.
complexity of that.
I find it's like the proximity to sleep, the
Yeah.
time between your last meal and sleep is probably
Mm-hmm.
more of an, I mean, probably more of an effect than what's consumed in the last meal. Not to
Mm-hmm.
say that the last meal itself and what's consumed wouldn't affect what's going to happen, don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong. But it seems to be that time for most
Yeah.
people between last meal and sleep is more important and how
Mm-hmm.
much time you leave for digestion. Yeah, it would have a bigger effect
Mm-hmm.
versus what that last meal is probably or predominantly made up of.
Fair.
Mm.
Um, shit. I had another one here. Where did it go? Do-do-do-do. Far out. Oh, oh wait, where was it? Oh, there we go. So I asked, um, question of the day: what was your biggest nutrition wives' tale your mum taught you as a kid?
Ooh.
Protein will kill your kidneys.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's a
yeah.
that's a
We know
fucking
that.
no.
Yeah, we know that
Um,
that's not a thing anymore.
I mean, I saw like I didn't even know. I saw Martin Nutrition's post, and he shared about a debate he had on a podcast. This guy said that an exact number of protein consumed in percentage will lead to your death.
Cool.
16%.
Yeah.
60% of total calories coming from protein. Anything more than that will kill you. What?
Cool. Yeah, cool. That's why we're all dead.
Yeah. I just posted, I reshared. It was like 250 protein, 50 carbs in prep. Didn't
Yeah.
die
Yet.
yet. It's a lingering, it lasts, it's an 80-year effect. So eventually you'll die from
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's gonna say it's like well, what's that real or no, just that joke? Like, don't you start dying the moment you're born?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a funny
Every day is the day closer to you dying.
yeah, yeah, it's like it's just a funny conundrum. Like you're getting older.
Uh, Eat your crust, your hair will go curly.
Oh yeah, fuck. That's a
Allow
great one.
specifically 20 minutes between food and swimming,
Oh yeah, it's always a
or
good
you'll
one.
drown.
Cramps. Yeah, you get cramps. 100%.
Tomatoes will keep the blush in your cheeks.
That one
That's
I've never heard of, but I love that.
that is
Um,
as that is
I'm
as good as the Liver King saying eating liver goes directly to your liver for nutrients.
yeah, I am all for it. It makes logical sense to me.
Yeah. Don't eat too much fruit, it's too high in sugar.
Oh yeah. I've heard that a million times. Yes, the sugars that you apparently don't want because you can't digest. Sure.
Apple and blackcurrant juice will suffice as daily fruit intake. Teeth are ruined.
Definitely definitely not. Please don't rely on juice for your fucking fruit intake.
Please don't. Salt as a whole is bad for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
that.
clearly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Stay
it's
away from
just one
salt. It's
of
bad for your blood
yeah,
pressure.
it's hugely important in hydration, but that's fine.
Necessary electrolyte, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it's fine.
this one, I don't even know if I call it a wives' tale as much as it's been just nutritional research over time just fluctuates so much, or people talking about it, which is don't eat eggs or too many eggs, and
I
it's like it's just one of those things
yeah,
where people misread data and then be like, well, having more than two eggs will cause this cancer. Also, this will cause fucking affect your LDL. Also, it's high in cholesterol, but we're not going to specify which cholesterol. But also, it's going to cause this if you have more than
yeah, and
six.
and then the separation of white and egg yolk
Yeah,
as well is always a
yeah.
funny one. Yeah, look, from the huge body of evidence, um, it would suggest that eggs are perfectly fine to eat.
Yeah.
again, if you're a healthy individual, you're perfectly fine. These are all, so the thing with research, a lot of the time, it's on the back or like the caveat of if you're healthy. If
Yeah.
you're a healthy individual, you can pretty much, well, you can almost do anything really.
Yeah.
Um, it's when you're not healthy that we need to start,
Yeah.
putting things in, boundaries in, and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
for periods of time to say, hey, we can't do this yet, but let's get
Mhm.
there, and then we can. So,
That's the problem I have when people start saying like, like we'll base like when the research is based on gen pop or a bell curve, right? If you're like born with an outline disorder or disease or issue, then you're no longer under that bell curve, so it doesn't apply to you. You can't take offense to that or say, well, this paper didn't include me, or the package didn't include this, and I ate it anyway and I dropped dead. That's their fault, or I got sick. It's their fault. Well, no, because the fucking data and the percentages and stuff we're talking about is for a generally healthy population. If you have a fucking issue where your body doesn't produce lactase and you therefore can't digest or process fucking milk, it is your decision then not to have fucking milk. If you go and say, well, I got told that having milk is good for me. Okay, but are you giving yourself explosive diarrhea every time you have it because you have a lactose intolerance? Probably
yeah,
don't have dairy. Find another
yeah,
way to get your calcium in. Do
yeah,
something else. There are other foods that possess calcium. Okay, well, I've got this fucking hemochromatosis and my like blood iron is low. Okay, that hemochromatosis? It is,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's figure that out. Get something else in there that will get your fucking iron levels back up properly. Just being like, oh, but this bell curve didn't consider me, or this study, or this wives' tale, or whatever it is. It said I should be fine to eat this, and I had it, and I wasn't. Okay, well, you're not in the fucking. You're an outlier then. You probably shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, and like I always say with most research, it's never done on people that are general population. It's very rare. It's usually a targeted group or a targeted
Yes.
audience because they're trying to find a specific thing for, gauge a specific outcome. So it's like, well, it's kind of like people taking GLP-1 agonists. It's like, well, we used people that have high blood sugar levels or blood glucose levels because, well, yeah, they're diabetic and this is what it's targeted at. But if you don't have high blood glucose, you don't need to use it. So stop fucking using it. Like, it's not complicated.
I'm using insulin as a preventative drug. Like,
Like, yeah, like, anyway, like I always say, people are stupid.
also that, yes, correct.
Mm,
That is all I got.
yes.
That's it for me.
Beautiful. Well, let's leave it there, as per usual.
Yes, a good
As
ramble.
always, do we need to know anything? Do the people need to know anything?
Do we need to know anything? Ooh, not yet. I don't think so. No,
Good chat.
no. Just finished a whole bunch of modules for the course last week. Done a few more already for this week. Um, that's exciting. We've got a few things coming up. The app is about to get released for even membership. Will be like there's an option there to have like membership data and stuff we can sell. We can subscribe to that, so we'll move there. But yeah, no, everything's sort of trotting along. Everything's straightforward. Still coaching spots available. My season B prep is full. Females I'm taking my time with. I've had a few girls inquire with me and stuff, but I'm like, I want to see how my rate and my numbers go with how well the result is. I don't want to
Mhm.
overstretch myself with females, firstly, hormonally, emotionally, cognitively, coaching wise, communication wise, being able to know that I can handle this number and then that number, and then that number just makes more sense to me as an ethical coach.
Yeah,
So
fair.
just sort of taking that time and obviously getting to understand female anatomy even more. Actually, it's getting pretty fun because like I get excited when we start to see things like their period cycle start to match up week to week, not just like month to month or like
Mhm.
phase to phase. I'm like, oh, we're starting to see like when this happens, you have a kilo up in fluid retention. When there's an
Mm.
outlier for this week, we know this happens. Cool,
Yeah,
that's fun. I get to see that shit. So just actually taking a bit of time to make sure I can handle what I'm doing before being like, yeah, throw me another five.
yeah, got it. I like it.
Uh,
Simples.
yeah, Tom is up and running. So if you're looking for more of a, well, if you don't like what I say,
Hmm.
Tom's probably going to be very similar. So you probably should like what I say, but
Yeah, it's okay. If
he's
you
also
don't,
available too.
well, he's not the guy for you either.
Yeah. Well, he's also not there for you either. So go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Well, I haven't really got much going on, so I'm just not going to reply to people on Instagram because I can't be bothered in terms of comments and shit.
Fair.
But that's about it. Yeah, just if you want inquiries, consults, let me know. I'm still waiting for this web page to be up and built. So until then, here we are.
Send me dick pics. I'll know what you want.
Pretty much. You got this. As always, ladies and gentlemen,
See you
any
guys.
questions,
Appreciate it.
concerns before I say goodbye? Throw them in the question box we drop on a Wednesday morning.
Subscribe, like, follow, do that stuff.
Please and thank you. Goodbye.
Scaff, give you a free shirt.
Sure, I'll give you this one. Sorry, Nick.
Unwashed.
Yeah, pretty much. You can have my sweat. Catch you later, guys.
See you guys.